So, a brief introduction to what this topic is about, this presentation is about. Shortly before this presentation, someone seeing the title of the presentation just asked how I'm going to explain what the 97 things every programmer should know in this short presentation. Yes, the title has been set like that to call our attention to more things, or to draw attention to it that there are more things for programmers to know. So you can't get all in one place. Sorry, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hello?
Yes, you are clear.
Okay, all right. Okay, all right. So in this presentation, we will look into advice from experts in the field so that we can continuously improve our skills. Then we can adopt new approach to old problem, then learn appropriate best practice and only our craft for sound advice. So I can say that we are very lucky in this advising you about what to do or not to do. So it depends on how well we take advice. That's how we always constantly improve our skills. Then if there's something we don't know, we can as well incorporate it in our daily life as we progress in our career. So this presentation will only cover 8 out of the 7 things every programmer should know. As I rightly said earlier, that there are more things for us to know, but this particular title of this presentation is taken from a book, which I will give So there are a lot of advice out there, but I'll. Hello?
Hello, I don't know if your network is going off and on.
Okay, I'm sorry about that. So the first thing I would like us to talk about is acting with prudence. Yes, we have to act with caution. I believe everyone knows that it's a general rule that it is not how far, but how well. But sometimes, maybe to meet a deadline or implement a feature, you might actually have to choose between doing it well and doing it quick. But one thing to know is that whenever you try to compromise on a task, you have to write the task card or log it in an issue tracking system to ensure that you don't forget what you have actually compromised. Those things you actually compromise are called a technical debt. So, and there are things you have to pay back before it actually come and run after you. Because assuming you left out the feature trying to meet a deadline or to present your project to a client, you never can say when there's a need for the feature in the project specification. So if you try to compromise or try to cut corner, try to use shortcuts while trying to deliver a project, let's try to write it down so that you can easily go back there and pay back your debt. Because as we know, even in our daily lives, if you take a loan and you don't pay it quickly, the interest will continue piling up and it might be something that will give you issue later in the future. Another thing I would like to advise is check your code first before looking to blame others. Yes, most of us have difficulty in believing that our code has problem, but the earlier we get to know or let these things in that it is very unlikely that a compiler is causing the issue. I would like to share a personal experience while I was in a coding school. So a lot of junior programmer of us, we go to our instructor saying, okay, I've written this code, it doesn't run. And there's one thing I like about the instructor, then they say, okay, more than 1 million people have done this and it's working. Then that means you are doing something wrong. So, but this is very common with junior developer, but I think a cracked senior developer has learned very well that makes them to be to deliver tasks more efficiently than junior developers. So as soon as there is an error in your code, you should try to know that the first point of contact is checking your code. Maybe you are missing a semicolon or there's a syntax you are missing. For example, you are to interact with an API from another organization or even within your organization. Because you are not the one that wrote the API, maybe there's an error in your code. Maybe there's one of the parameters you have to pass. You aren't passing it well. Then, if your first thought is that maybe there's something wrong with the API, you might be wasting a lot of time, maybe trying to seek for solutions online. But by the time you let it sink in that, okay, maybe the first point of contact is let me check my code first so that I won't waste a lot of time or trying to waste other people's time or trying to waste the management time in the case that you are working for an organization and you have to deliver the task in time. So anytime you come across an error in your code, it is always very advisable that you check yourself first so that you get the issue resolved in time. So another thing is code review. A lot of people tend to run away from code review because they think it's a way for programmers or for maybe a senior person to criticize what they've done. Yes, instead of just correcting what you've done, it is always very good to do code review because it increases the quality of the code you've written. Because as we all know that 2 heads are better than 1. So if someone has a check, even if it's a colleague that, okay, you have written this code and it's a very good practice to let someone else to check through your code and if there's any error. Unlike in earlier presentation in this KD, like Faith said yesterday that why speaking about pair programming. So pair programming is another way of like doing a review as you are writing a code. So it is always good that once you complete a task or writing a function or you complete a project, let someone else review it so that you might have missing something out while trying to achieve another thing. So the person can at least say, okay, you are missing this part, then you have to correct this so that it won't be that the user of the app will be dissatisfied while they use your code. So it is always good. It's a very good practice. So it increases code quality. Don't be shy about this. If someone points out and there is a way of like, it even brings collectiveness in organization so that everybody will have this mindset of, okay, we did this together and everyone can assist one another while trying to deliver a task. Then another thing is continuous learning. So some employers like Bincom, I think we have been very lucky in this aspect. They have paid for some courses online for us on Udemy, and so in our everyday schedule from 8 to 9, you are supposed to do personal development. So other organizations may not give you this opportunity for you to do personal development, but you need to know that you have to keep learning to stay in market so that it won't be like one day the organization might think they don't need your service because you have been doing things the old way. Maybe you are not, because it's only through continuous learning you improve. So if you don't learn, you don't improve. So it is always advisable to continue learning. So you learn new skills or you learn new ways of doing what you have been doing before. So please take responsibility of learning new things or learning so that you become marketable, you will become very relevant as the thing changes in the development world. So another thing is we have to deploy early and often. Many times when developers write their code locally on their local machine, everything tends to run well. But by the time you upload your code to the live server, there's something wrong. So it is always good to test your code with every changes you do. So you don't wait until you complete your project so that you save yourself a lot of headache from going back to the beginning of the project to start all over again. Sometimes you have to start all over again because what you have done might not run. And there's another thing that you have to test in a clean environment. Sometimes maybe you are using, you don't use just one browser while you are trying to, maybe for example, you are a web developer, you have written your code and you are testing it in one browser. You might have issue. Maybe your browser has checked something and there's something breaking in your code. But by the time it's another browser and you see that there's something missing in this code and you'll be able to test and see where the errors is. But by the time you say, okay, I will wait till the end of this of my development before trying to test what I do. There might be just a slight change in what in function you've written that needs change. But by the time you do not do that, then you continue working until the end of your programming or of the development phase. Then you want to send your code to production. Then you discover that there's an error here. But whereas it's something you should have detected earlier on if you are testing your code in a different environment. So it is a very good advice for you to test code early and deploy often so that you save yourself a lot of stress and you can do things faster and more efficient. A lot of us have this problem. We are afraid to break things. Why? Sometimes there's something wrong with a function or a system, but there's one thing you have to know that if you don't break things, you can't amend sometimes. So you don't run away from doing this. Hello, can anyone hear me? Hello?
Yes, I can hear you.
Yes, yes.
Okay. All right. So you know that there's something wrong with you. Sometimes you might know that there's something wrong with your system, but there's this fear of saying, okay, if I do this, I don't know how long it's going to take me to fix it. But don't you know that surgeons know that code has to meet in order to operate? So you have to be able to, you have to be courageous in, okay, let's say, okay, let me take this on. Let me do this now. Because if you are not doing it now, you are not saving time. You are passing you are passing the problem to you are compiling the problem to when it's going to run after you. So if there's anything you have if you notice something wrong with the system, try to look into what is wrong with the system so that you can fix it. So you don't run away from fixing issue. Then, as Benjamin Franklin rightly said, what the little thing, a small leak will sink a great ship. Yes, sometimes you might think, okay, what error? It won't be serious. No, honestly, I can ignore it. By the time you start ignoring error, maybe as a web developer now, there's an error that maybe though your system might be everything might look fine, but then this one error, maybe there's you are trying to use a variable that is not defined, for example. So and you just think, okay, I can ignore this. Let me continue. But if this is your habit, it's just plain laziness. So you have to, like, anytime you see error in your code, always check for it and try to fix it so that you might not know, maybe there's a dependency in your code. There's something, a dependency somewhere that's depending on that particular code somewhere. Maybe you haven't figured that out now. So anytime you see error somewhere, try to fix it as soon as possible. Because a stitch in time saves nine. That's the general saying. So if you don't fix error now, it might lead to the whole system collapse. Yes, the last advice in this presentation I would like to say is the Boy Scout rule. Yes, they said the Boy Scout has a rule that leave a campground cleaner than you found it. If you find a mess on the ground, you clean it up regardless of who might have made it. Yes, maybe you to write a function or to add a new feature in a code, and you actually found that somebody else has worked on a code on the same code base before, and there's something the person has done wrong. You don't say, okay, it's not my fault, so I shouldn't do this. No. If you find an error somewhere, it's better you try to fix it, because if everyone in the organization inculcate that habit, even when you yourself had to make had done something that is not well, and somebody has to work on the same project you work on, so they'll be able to, like, okay, let me fix this thing for this person. So everybody starts caring about the system as a whole. Not that, okay, I want to be praised for this. I want someone to get the merit for this. No. Anytime you see somebody that's not doing anything, that has done something that's not right, you can actually as well try to, like, let me cover up for this person. So that if, as you are doing your own part, another person is covering for you, you are covering for another person, then you'll be able to, like, improve the system. So it will be like a system that, okay, my own part is functioning and someone's part is not. First, like, if you, for an engine now, if something is wrong with the injector, I'm very sure the engine will not work well. So you don't say, okay, I'll fix my own part and it's not my own problem. So at the end of the day, it comes down to, okay, for example, I'm to deliver a task now, so, and I've not done that well, and somebody else has to deliver his own task after me now. So if you are a person that thinks, okay, let me just do my own and leave. So at the end of the day, when we are speaking about the overall task delivery or the project delivery, we have nothing to show at the end of the day that, okay, we've done this. So, but by the time everybody says, okay, it's our collective responsibility to deliver this task, so we will be able to stand in for it. So maybe someone needs something from you, so you're able to give them what they need in time. So the Boy Scout rule is very important. So anytime you see someone is like, it might be an advice. Okay, can you please do this thing like this? Okay, it's better. Okay, then there will be an amendment, so that we always have a functioning system. Then in conclusion, so we have to write code as if we have to support it for the rest of our life. If we were to accept that any of our previous or current employer had the right to call us in the middle of the night, asking to explain the choice you made while writing a method, you would gradually improve toward becoming an expert programmer. Yes, you could ask 97 people what every programmer should know and do, and you might get 97 distinct answers. Yes, all advice are good, and all principles are sound, but we should know that there are a lot more. So anytime you are given an advice, try as much as possible to use it next time you find yourself in a situation where it demands, so that we'll all improve as development change generally. So you can say you might leave Bincom today or any organization you work in. So you write code as if you have to support it for the rest of your life. Like, okay, you care about you write code as if you care about the system. Not like, okay, let me do what my partner and go. No, that doesn't work. So it's always better for us to do the best thing, to put in our best. But how do we put our best? Then we should listen to advice from developers, from other developers, because like I rightly said at the beginning of this presentation, we have been very lucky in this career path, because if you check Stack Overflow, for example, today, you see a lot of advice telling you, okay, you have done this or done that, right? Or you need to do this to improve your code. Yes, and I believe as every one of us progress in our career, we begin to like take responsibility for junior developer. You give advice, so you won't be the person that say, okay, I've encountered this same problem. I want the next person to encounter the same problem. And there's something in this organization that I really cherish a lot. So they speak about documentation, so that maybe you have done a task now and you've completed it. You have to write a documentation on that, so that anybody that is coming after and working in the project won't have to fall into the same problem. So I believe that's a good culture that is needed in the organization for us to constantly improve, so that the next person coming after you won't have to go through the same headache or problem you have faced while trying to solve a problem. Okay, I would like to examine my audience with these 5 questions. So please, I've spoken about the Boy Scouts rule. Can anyone remind us about what the Boy Scouts rule is, please? Hello?
Hello, good morning.
Yes, I said I've spoken about the Boy Scout rule. Can anyone remind us about what the Boy Scout rule is?
Okay, the Boy Scout rule is that when you go to the ground or the parade ground, you leave it cleaner than you met it. So in terms of code, when you had to make changes to a code that was written by another person, and you discover some errors or code that lines that are of code that were not written properly, you make effort to correct them and not just leave them by itself or leave it like that.
Okay.
I think that's Boy Scout rule.
Hello?
Yes.
Sorry, I lost my connection a bit, so I can't
come
hear
again.
what you said. So it's an open question. You can.
I should come again.
You said yes, come again, please.
Yes. You said the Boy Scout rule states that when you go to the campground, you leave it cleaner than you met it. So when, according to what you explained, when you making changes in lines of code, you are to if you found errors or you find that the codes that you are making changes is not properly done, so you are to make corrections and not just leave it like that.
Okay, all right. Thank you very much. So that in turns improve the system as a whole, so that everybody will care for one another. So another thing is, okay, can anyone tell us why code review is good, and why should we do code review? Hello? Hello? Can anyone hear me?
We can hear you. Yeah.
Okay. Please, why should we do code review? Or is
Mr.
code review something we should do while programming?
Mr. Lake, I can call people by name, please.
Okay, all right. Benjamin. Hello, Benjamin. Matthew Monday.
I'm here. What did you ask?
Okay, I said, should we do code review? Is it?
Should we do both what?
Is code review part of what every programmer should do?
Yes, a code review is is part of what a programmer should do. It's definitely going to give you a brighter and a clearer mind of what you've actually been going through while writing your code.
Yes, that's correct. So let me use a personal experience. When as junior developers, as we are now, so anytime you complete a work on a project or a task, so and you give a senior person, because code review are usually done by in an organization, are usually done by a senior person. So by the time I finish writing a particular function, or I make changes to a code and I say, okay, Mr. Emmanuel, this is what I've done. Please let me review. Yes, and at the end of the review, I will discover that, okay, there's something I've not catered for. Sometimes I might say, okay, like this situation might not happen, then I won't undo it in my own code. And you say, okay, look, I know. Programmers don't think like that. You think like, okay, in the rarest case, what if this happened? For example, I had to interact with an API like 2 weeks ago, and I said, okay, from our own end, there's no error. We can't have this kind of scenario for our own end. But he said to me, what if in the API we are depending on, the provider of the API, what if something changes from their own end? Don't you think that that can happen too? And I reason along that side and say, okay, let me improve my code. Let me cater for an error that maybe is very unlikely to happen. Then I think once I do that, even me, I'm very confident. Okay, if this condition happens, we won't have to go back to revisit the code again or to like write a new function again. So that's what code review does for programmers. So please, even if it's not a senior person, you might share a code with your colleague or even a junior person. Okay, review this code. If there's anything, okay, let me know. Or even if you're a senior person, you want to teach a junior person something out in the organization. So you can say, okay, review this code. Person might say, okay, why do you have to do this? Asking question. So then by way of explanation, okay, I did this because this. So everybody will know that, okay, if there's anything wrong or we understand how the system works better. So another question is, what makes a programmer relevant in the market? Olivia, can you please answer this? Hello, Olivia. Hello. Jacob Ichoma.
All right. What makes a programmer relevant?
Yes, in the market.
In the market.
Yes.
Is number one, the programmer have to ensure that it's up to the minute, not even up to date, up to the minute with the updates in the programming world. And if there are updates.
Yes, you said what I want. So programmers should continue learning. So you don't use the same, you don't try to code the same way you write it 5 years ago. So if you, because things continue to evolve. So you have to, if you don't move, something else will move you. That's just the logic. So if you don't change, if you don't, like maybe for example, before I joined Bincom, I don't use PHP framework at all. But immediately I joined, and I was told that you have to use, we use E here, we use so it took me less than 5 days to learn E, and I've been using it ever since I joined. Anytime I want to do it. So assuming I say, okay, when I was asked, okay, did you know E? And I said no, then I did not make any changes. So I won't be able to, I won't be relevant with the organization. Then the organization might say, okay, we don't need your service again because you don't have what we need. So even if it's not that, okay, you want to seek for another employment, in your current engagement, if you do not improve, so that might in turn means that the organization is not progressing. So if you want to always remain relevant, please, you have to constantly improve. Like we are very lucky in Bincom here, so that they paid for courses online for us to continue our learning. But in some organizations, just okay, this is your task, just pass tasks to you. They don't care about what, even if you are progressing at all. Then another question is, why should we deploy early and often? Can anyone answer this, or I should call you? Matthew Monday, are you here? Hello? Hello? Hello, can anyone hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Since they are not around, maybe you call on that person. We are taking note of them.
Okay. Okay. No. I want to ask a developer, and there's a reason why I called Matthew. Okay, Cementing. Hello, Cementing.
Yes, sir. Yeah, hello, sir.
Why should we deploy early and often?
All right, like you said, so that we are able to detect if there are any error on time, and then we can go back to fix them.
Okay. Yes. Sometimes you write code on your local machine and everything runs well, but when it gets to the real environment where the work will stay, like production environment, there's something broken. I intentionally called Matthew Monday because there's a current issue on this. So he had to write he was given an order to do. Then he did it on his local machine, not on. He didn't test. He wasn't able to test on the production environment. So until he finishes his work, so now he wants to move the code to the production environment, and everything just breaks. So and he's currently still trying to fix the issue now. He hasn't been able to fix it. But by the time you are given a project to do, ensure that, or even if it's not a project like that, so maybe you are writing a code and you think, okay, I've written this function now. Please try to test what you have written first before going to do any other thing. So if you are writing a function, test it first before going to do any other thing, because there might be an issue you never can say. So please, anytime you make any change to any code, or you have to do, you're assigned to work on a project, if you are to edit anything or to update something, test what you have done first. So don't just assume that what I've written is right and it's going to work. No, that's the essence of you testing. So you might run into a very big problem that you might not even know where the problem comes from, and you have to waste a lot of time trying to debug. Because I don't know if there's anyone that can, okay, like me, I've experienced it that, okay, more than a day you'll be on a project trying to debug what's wrong and you don't get it. But to save this kind of stress, anytime you make changes, try to see what the changes that have caused and try to see the effects in time so that you know if there's something you have to change. Then another question I would like to ask is what technical debt is. Are we hear me, Patrick? So what do you understand by technical debt?
Hello, can you hear me, please?
Yes, I can hear you.
Sorry, I'm having network issues.
Is that
Hello.
Patrick or Monday?
No.
Yeah, hello, it's Matthew.
Okay, Matthew. Oh, okay, do you want to answer the question? Technical debt. What do you understand by technical debt?
Sir, you said?
Technical debt. Okay, so as not to waste our time, technical debt are those things you make promise that you are those like those future or changes you promise yourself to come back to. Like maybe you are trying to meet a deadline, then you say, okay, this is something I can ignore for now. Then I'll come back to this data. So you have to tag them down. So there's something you have to pay in time so that you won't have to pay big. You know, this things work like compound interest. You have to continue paying interest until you pay your loan. So you might as well be suffering because you have not done something in the past. And I believe this is what this is not what we want. So if you have to fix something, you have to fix it in time, or you make a promise that, okay, by the time I'm done with this, let me prioritize this project. You might have to prioritize maybe features in your project in your project execution. Then if you did not pay them back as soon as possible, the whole system might collapse. So I want to know if there's anyone that has any question for me before I finally conclude this presentation. Anyone that has a question? Hello, is there anyone that has a question? Okay, in the absence of no question. So
No question.
I will recommend. Okay. Somebody's trying to ask a question. Hello. Hello, can anyone hear me?
I think
Yes, we
he said
can
no
hear you.
question.
He said no question.
Okay, all right, thank you. So I will recommend us to read a book titled, The 17 Things Every Programmer Should Know by Kelvin Henney. So I know, as Abubakar rightly asked before this presentation, am I going to cover the 7 things every programmer should know? Yes, I might not have covered all here, but this presentation is to introduce us to the book titled The 7 Things Every Programmer Should Know. Because in this piece of work are short tips, like advice from experts in the field. And when we mean experts in the field, we mean people with proven experience, so that you won't go and be reinventing the wheel. So once you follow this advice from the programmers, believe me, you become a better programmer. So irrespective of the language you use, you will see advice there that are particular to your own language. So it is always good to listen to advice, and this is what makes the development world keep progressing. So the advice doesn't end with these 97 things mentioned in this book, but you as a programmer, even if you are asked to give an advice to a younger self of your younger self, you have something to say that had I known this before, I would have done this better. Those are advice, and that's what is making this career progress, and that's what improved the technology as a whole as of today. So please try as much as possible. You can check it on Google. You see a link. It's a GitHub book. So you see the 7 different advice. You see why you have to do this, why you don't have to do this. Then if you follow this advice, you won't fall where others have fallen. Then you know where to rise. So you don't have to fall before you rise. So thank you very much for your attention and contributions.
All right, thank you, Adeyinka. KD has come to an end. Thank you, everybody.